Hello, welcome to the Mythology Manifest. This is my first video on content from Arthurian legends, and so I thought I would start with a video on a character who is one of my favourites from these stories. She is the main antagonist, a powerful enchantress, a vengeful woman, and the Queen of Gore. Her name was Morgan Le Fey. I hope you enjoy it. So Morgan Le Fey was the child of the Duke of Cornwall, Gore, and the woman Igraine, who would, after the death of Gore, marry the King of Camelot, Uther Pendragon, and have by him a son who they would name Arthur. Morgan was the youngest child of Gore and Igraine, but she was definitely the most powerful, cunning, and evil of all of her sisters. But her beautiful visage did not betray her true nature in the slightest. Morgan was known by many different names, including Morgana, Morgaine, and Morgou. However, she always had Le Fey at the end of her name, sometimes spelled F-E-Y and sometimes spelled F-A-Y. Either way, Le Fey means the fairy, and this is because of the magic that ran in her veins. It was believed by some that Morgan had come from another world. Others said that she had served on the Isle of Fairies, known as the Isle of Glass, as a guardian of the Cauldron of Inspiration, and others said she had been taught by Merlin, or was Ninian in a different disguise. Ninian is another important character, and I will be doing a video on her in the future. Her background was clouded in mystery, but it is known that Morgan could fly in raven form, understand the stars, and heal wounds with magic. But even this she hid in her first years in Camelot, as many of the people who lived there were against magic, as was Arthur. Morgan married a king called Urien, and in some accounts he was the king of a place called Reged. In others he was the king of a place called Gore, spelled G-O-R-R-E, but usually it was Reged. But from this it was taken that Morgan was either the queen of Reged or of Gore, but people eventually translated it to mean she was the queen of Gore, as in G-O-R-E, such as blood and wounds, and you'll understand why after the video's ended. She and Urien had a son called Yvain, and they rose in power by the side of the High King Arthur, as he aged and grew more powerful as well. She joined Queen Guinevere's handmaidens, but was estranged from the others, as she much preferred the company of men, and she was often flirted with. Over time, Morgan grew loose with the young men of the courts, and at first she hid her affairs, because she knew they were attracted to her beauty and her power. But over time, she wanted more power, and her heart became filled with hate, as she felt she had to hide her magic and not show that she was a powerful woman. And soon, she grew careless, causing damage to her relationship and others. One day, Morgan was caught by Queen Guinevere in the arms of a knight called Guiomar, who was Guinevere's cousin. They had a brief encounter, and Guinevere said that she would take the matter to Arthur. Arthur banished Guiomar, who left without saying goodbye to Morgan, and Morgan was allowed to stay, as Arthur did not want to see his half-sister ruined or her husband shamed. And after that, Morgan's social conduct did seem more seemly for a while, but this was only because she was biding her time. She was trying to avenge her humiliation, and so first she exposed Guinevere's own misconduct with Lancelot, and whilst the king and queen were distracted with that, she began another affair, this time with a knight called Accolon of Gaul. She created magical weapons for him to use against Arthur, and one day she gave them to him to use. Arthur had been out hunting all day when Morgan sent him a crystal boat. He got on it and was knocked out, and after that he was taken to a fairy land and trapped there, where he had to fight a masked warrior. During his time there, Arthur fought valiantly, and was eventually saved by a fairy, and killed the masked warrior, who turned out to be Accolon of Gaul. But just before he killed Accolon, Accolon told him it was Morgan who had done this, and trapped Arthur in the fairy land. Whilst Arthur had been trapped, Morgan had taken control of Camelot, and was planning to hand over the land to the Old Ones, who were powerful immortal fairies. One day, she got a message from Arthur saying that he had escaped the fairyland and was coming for her. Knowing this, Morgan went to the bedroom of her husband Urien and ready to kill him before she planned to run away. But she was stopped by her son Yvain, and so, knowing that everyone was against her, including her close family, She fled from Camelot, meaning she was no longer its queen. Arthur was not just going to let her escape, though. He continued to chase her. Knowing he would never stop, Morgan turned herself, and some of the people who followed her, into stone. Arthur came across the statue of his half-sister and her companions, and believing she was dead, he returned to Camelot. After a few years, Morgan knew Arthur would have calmed down, and so she reversed her spell and came to life once more. She went to Gore, or Reged, and resumed queenship there. When settled, she sent a messenger by the name of Manassan to Camelot. He told Arthur and Guinevere that Morgan was not dead and had taken up the role of Queen of Reged and Gore, and that she would remain there and be no bother to them anymore, and that they shouldn't attack her as her army and magic were too powerful for even Camelot. She said she no longer wished to fight, and that when Arthur died, it would be she that welcomed him into the world of the dead. Arthur agreed, and Manassan returned to his queen. A few months later, a young woman arrived in Camelot, claiming she had a gift from Morgan for Queen Guinevere. It turned out to be a beautiful golden cloak, and it seemed like a lovely gift, until Arthur heard a magical whisper of evil come from the cloak. He asked the maiden to try it on, which she did hesitantly, and for a moment nothing happened, and then the girl set on fire and burned to death. This was Morgan trying to trick Guinevere into killing herself. This is similar to the poison dress Medea sends to Glauce in Greek mythology, only this one doesn't work as well. And with that, Camelot had no more dealings with Morgan Le Fey. I think Morgan is a fascinating character, and I have a few more videos planned on her cruel escapades for power. She is portrayed incredibly well in the TV show Merlin, which I will review at some point in the future. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment or subscribe. Please let me know if there are any videos you wish to see in the future, and there is a link to this channel's Twitter page in the description below if anyone wishes to follow it. This video will be joining my previous one in my Arthurian Legend playlist, and you can check out any of my playlists if you want to. I referenced Medea in this video, and if you want to try and spot the comparisons between the two mythological witches, then please check out my Medea video, which is in my Greek Mythology Manifest playlist. Thanks for helping me keep classics alive. I will see you next time on the Mythology Manifest.